with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat with everything.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Salt of the Streets podcast, the show where we discuss news, government, and culture, and how it all pertains to you, the individual, and your natural rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I, of course, am that big bird-looking fellow they call Colin. I am, as always, joined by my co-host, brother-in-arms, the Nero of Neoprene, the original Salt of the Street himself, Mr. Donavan. How are you today?
I am excellent, sir. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. What day is it? What time is it? The topics? What are we doing?
Yeah, no,
the whole deal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, today it is September 17th, 2022, episode 133, as you can see behind us over here.
Whoop, whoop.
We have some fantastic topics today. Let's see. I actually don't have my notes up here. I was busy listening to you. Of course, we are running our 4-part show today, so should have moved over here. Number one, we have Let Me Ask You This. Obviously, we have our local stories. We just have a couple little things here. Seattle ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, and then Jay Inslee giving up his emergency powers.
Woo!
And then
It's a good day.
Yeah, in October, the end of October. Don't get too jazzed. Yeah. Number two, part two, we're going to talk about. We're going to do a little throwback to like classic Salt of the Streets, right? So when this show first started, we've talked about this a bunch of times. I had that story up too. The guy about the coffee shop. I'm not.
Word.
That's so funny. That is
Get out
so
of my
funny.
head.
When we first started the show, the goal was to just present objective information, and it was very political, and it still is very political because that's how things happen, societal and things like that. But we talked more traditional politics and like elections and stuff like that. And so we're going to do some of that stuff today because it's been a relatively slow news week. And the way that I put it in my notes is as we get closer to the midterms, the news starts to show you exactly what they want to show you.
Yeah.
So you're seeing very specific topics that are intended to sway your vote. They're intended to get you to vote a certain way or impact the way you vote. So we're going to talk about a bunch of those different things today. So we have... you have some different things about like the DHS secretary and Hillary Clinton and some different clips that we're going to look at. And then we have an update on Donald Trump and the Mar-a-Lago situation. Lindsey Graham talked about introducing a 15-week abortion bill.
For some fucking reason.
Out of nowhere. Yeah, we're going to talk about some inflation. And then I don't have it here in the top one, but we're going to talk more about Martha's Vineyard and the stuff that happened there. So we're going to...
especially as it pertains to midterms. I mean,
yes.
The migration situation is... Like you put it, I mean, it is being presented as this is a midterms issue from one side or the other.
100%.
Bilbo's back.
Thank you for joining us, you and Will. It is good to see you guys. Yeah, and then part 3, we're going to try something new, right? That's what I have. It's just let's try something new.
Let's do it.
So we're going to try out some new, different segments here. And so the first one, we're going to do a breaking down breaking points segment, right? We have a clip from Breaking Points. We talk about the show all the time, and we've had some different people in the comments ask us, like, what exactly is the issue with Breaking Points? Because we just kind of talk about it in general. It's like they're fucking losing it, or they're whatever. So we see things like that when people ask about it. So we have a clip that we're going to go over. We're going to stop it. We're going to watch it together as a family, and we're going to stop it, and we're going to
family style.
Yeah, we're going to, pump up some points and break down other points and stuff like that. And then we're going to do another segment that we are going to call, what do we call it? A scroll down the street, right? Where we're going to go on both of our Twitter feeds, roll through them. We're going to tackle some arguments that we think are not good, some shitty takes, some good takes, pump them up, tear them down, do those types of things.
And obviously make fun of each other's Twitter
feed
because who knows what we got in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's got a little shame in their Twitter feed.
For the grab bag, we have all kinds of stuff going. The only two things that I have here, Colin has lots of topics over there. I have a change or additional merchant code for credit card companies. They're going to change the way that they classify the purchases for guns from gun stores specifically. And then we also are going to talk a little bit about the rail strike that never was, or that still could be, or for now isn't, whatever you want to call it. And then you have some other topics that we're going to go over there. So
yeah, the biggest one I want to bring up was kind of like the latest movement in the Twitter Elon Musk situation. He's been trying to back out of the deal. And after a recent congressional testimony from a whistleblower, former head of security at Twitter, some pretty revealing revelations there, and now he's using that as well as reasons to back out of this deal. And there's a little bit more to that too, but a lot of good, wholesome, big tech, liberty-based discussion to be had about that one. So we'll hit that one, and then I got I got a bunch of other little side stories put in my Twitter bookmarks, including a story about that the New York Post broke, I think this last week, about Facebook employees funneling private messages from Facebook and Instagram to the FBI.
Yes.
And when you balance that on comments made by our loving DHS Secretary Mayorkas, which we'll get into in part 2, the fear will be instilled. And you will probably never want to message anybody on any of those apps ever again. So be using Signal, everybody.
That's we've said it once. We'll say it again.
Do it
Use
again.
Signal. Yeah, WhatsApp, if you don't know, is owned by Facebook. So that's what I always tell people. It's like, yeah, WhatsApp is right, but it's owned by Facebook. So
and they will definitely give your shit to the feds with little pushback. All they got to do is ask. They're like, oh, here you go. Here, you can have it.
Yeah, so I use Signal. We use Signal.
It's the shit.
That's the way to go.
Yeah,
So
we got to get them Signal boys on the phone, because we could make Signal like a really awesome, like, whole platform for all sorts of shit, not just messaging.
Yeah.
And that could be the safe haven for free speech going into the future. I have some ideas. I want to get that granola crunchy hippie dude on the phone. He was on Rogan that one day. I don't know if you ever saw that episode.
I
It
did
was
not
great.
watch them, but I know that he was on
He's
there.
like a super hippie that just believes in the sanctity of like free speech.
I like it.
I'm like, I'm into it, bro.
Yeah, I
he
like it.
He like had a sailboat and was sailing around the world for years, and I was like, bro, you're speaking my language. You're the right kind of hippie. I
That's
like
wild,
you,
bro.
I know.
That's
Super weird shit.
Also, Visa, MasterCard are being very compliant with the government. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll get into that, obviously, into the grab bag when we talk about the changing of the merchant codes, because they're not doing it because they are wholesome, the companies,
No.
right? It's not because they care about, people's lives or dignity or anything like that. They don't care about guns. They don't care about any of that type of shit. They care about the public pressure that they're getting and the private pressure that they're getting from the federal government.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, you say it all the time, but every major institution hates you and wants you to die. And
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, 100%. So, with that, I want to thank you guys again for being here, for joining us on our YouTube at Salt of the Streets. We also have our Patreon at Salt of the Streets. We have our Facebook. Fuck Facebook. God, I got to take that other thing. We have Instagram, everything. Everything is over there at Salt of the Streets. Go to the Patreon, sign up, help us make more, better content just like this. We did have a new patron after the last episode, so thank you very much. Go there, help us. We talked a lot about, Bilbo, you're not here. It was a great episode last time. I'm sure that you were doing some fun Labor Day stuff. We talked about shadow banning with Joseph Garrett, and it's an issue. So help us get our message out there. Help us get the message of freedom and liberty out there, of people being able to control their own lives and do what is best for them and decide what is best for them and their families. Help us get this family reunion. That's beautiful. Help us get this message out there. Sign up for the Patreon. Share these things with the people that you know, with your friends, with your family, anybody that you care about that you know would be happier being free and choosing their own path. Share this information with them.
That's right.
And help us make more better content just like this. So you can find all this at saltofthestreets.com, all the episodes, everything like that.
And to sweeten the deal a little bit, we have a little exclusive Patreon content we just dropped.
That's right.
That you can check out by becoming a patron at any level. Any level has access to this.
And there will be plenty more of those type of videos.
Yeah, because it was way too much fun.
And it takes
I
me a
almost
lot of
pissed
tries.
myself laughing.
It takes me a lot of tries
So
to get
good.
those things done. So
Yeah.
we'll have a lot of content.
These are the it's the bloopers and outtakes reel from our last review preview show, and it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Put it that way. I had a really good time cutting that up.
It was good. It was very good. It was very good. Yeah. And this first segment is brought to you by Swab Blended. Look at this. Got the haircut last week, right? So shout out Swab Blended. It's over there. If you're in the local area, swabblended.com. Get yourself an appointment. Get your haircut. He does a fantastic job. He's helping me keep the length going. We're doing all the stuff. So go there. Swab Blended.
I just had this really insane vision of you all of a sudden in a mullet, and I really wanted to see that for some reason.
It's close. It's borderline mullet, so I can see.
You don't
how
have
it
too much
would-
business in the front, though. That's the deal.
Exactly.
Not enough business in the front to be a mullet.
If it was shorter,
Yeah.
we would be in real danger territory. Luckily, I told Paul I wanted to keep the length up front, or else we would be in trouble. So yeah, I want to remind everyone before we move forward to evaluate and adjust your relationship with the CCP, with the Chinese Communist Party. I'm trying to do this every time. I have it at the top of the page, and I always move down and do other shit. So while I'm up here. We have the book club, we have the beer shows, the newsletters, those things, all this type of stuff, all the different content that we make. Like, comment, subscribe, already do that. Okay, with that, let me ask you this, right? So this was beautiful, seamless transition into let me ask you this time around. So,
You know I'm a fan of a hard segue.
yeah, jumping off of the back of what we talked about last episode for Let Me Ask You This. We talked about multiple parties and you know, salvaging the government and that type of thing, right? Is there, in modern politics, can you think of a person that, if they came into office in the executive branch, into the presidential office, they would actually start to strip down the executive branch like we talked about, like actually start to tear it down when they got there? And it's okay if you, so say you can take a minute and think about it if you want.
Realistically, I think there are a small group of people that would be interested in that. You know, there's the Rand Pauls, the Thomas Masseys, Thomas Massey. He's the Tesla driving dude that homesteads and all that, right? Yeah. Like, they would.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know, I would highly doubt it. I don't think I can't name it. I'm sure there might be somebody in the House that's kind of based in that realm, but you know, the history going back of no matter who gets into power, of consistently growing the government in one fashion or another has never changed. It's just gotten exponentially worse. I don't think there would be anybody that could do that. And at this point, too, we've talked about the machine itself as acting as a having an immune system, you know, with those faceless, nameless, fucking gray suits going around,
right,
trying to kill off any virus that wants to take a part of it. So I was even if you did have somebody that came in like that, it'd be really difficult, I think, for them to do that. But I don't know. Maybe if we got somebody in there that really flexed that unitary executive theory muscle, and then turned around and was like, now I'm a benevolent dictator. I'm slashing all this shit because I am the unitary executive, so fuck off.
That would have to be a real particular type of dude.
Oh yeah,
that was the way that they read the unitary executive theory.
Yeah.
Like, not only do I have all the power, it should be very limited.
Yeah.
Like,
not only do I have the power, but I have the power to go.
Yeah.
Nobody has any power anymore.
Yeah. No, I think Bilbo's probably right that you would have to get someone from outside there. And I think you're right. There's probably a small handful of people.
Oh, yeah. Dave Smith and Michael Malice would do it.
Yeah. If you got somebody from outside that came in, not Donald Trump, but someone who came in like that, you know?
Yeah.
Someone like that would have, I think, the immunity to do something like that. Because if they're
just somebody that would give no fucks.
If they don't need to worry about a political career afterwards, then what do they have to lose by doing it anyway? Mm-hmm. My concern would be the last person that I could readily think of that ran and tried to do this type of thing was JFK, and they fucking killed him. So, so that's my concern. Is like, and it was easier to do that type of stuff back then. Like,
and he was like a light version of it.
It would be much more difficult to carry out a governmental coup assassination in the JFK-esque style.
Oh yeah,
but then it was in '63. You know,
too much technology nowadays.
Yeah,
get him with one of them heart attack guns or something though.
But
or just
time someone
send him out hunting with
it.
Dick Cheney. Have an accident,
exactly.
You know?
But I was listening to a new audiobook that's about governmental conspiracies. And the first one was about JFK, and so it was over an hour, because I stopped listening to it to do other show stuff, of just inconsistencies in the case file of JFK and in the investigation, the Warren Commission, all that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, there's no shortage.
Yeah.
Well, whip the phone out. Let's see what this is. I want to find out.
Yep,
This sounds good.
I found it on Scribd.
Scribd.
It is good. Yeah, Scribd, not an ad, is a good app that I've been listening to. Scribd is fine. There's only a couple things that I've wanted that's not been on there.
Yeah.
So it's not been... Okay, it is called Hidden History, an expose of modern crimes, conspiracies, and cover-ups in American politics, and it's by Donald Jeffries.
Mr. Donald.
Yeah, and it's very good. It's very good so far. So, like I said, I'm only like an hour into it. I have 16 hours left, which is nice. But yeah, just this first section was about JFK, and I was
that's fun.
Like, that's... That's not good. It's
No, man.
pretty obvious, you know.
Didn't Roger Stone had like a big JFK documentary or something, right? And then
Yes.
then he did like a new one or a revisited one or something like that recently.
I believe so.
I thought
Or
his
maybe an
last appearance on
extended
Rogan
cut
was
of it or
talking about
something.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I never listened to that one. So
Well, that's interesting because I had a bonus. Let me ask
Oh,
you this
right,
today,
yes.
and I feel like this might generally work in its vein, but
let's hear it.
for some reason I got thinking on this week, and I don't know why, but the concept of the selective service
Okay.
came into mind. The
Yep,
draft,
the
if
draft.
you will. I would like to know your thoughts on it, and I would like to know. I would like you to maybe pontificate a little bit about how against liberty it is or is not.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think that's interesting.
Right? Because maybe I'll help you tee off a little bit while you think. Because my initial thought was, it's been a thing since World War I believe, and the concept of regardless of any status, essentially, and it's gotten worse over time. There used to be much more kind of leeway with the old conscientious objector status, but I mean, for the most part, you are forced as a citizen to sign up for the draft, and then at some point, you are forced by threat of execution or jailing to go and fight in a war that you may not want to, which seems highly against the principles of liberty in my mind.
Right, because to gain or to access government service, you have to be signed up for the selective service. And when you register to vote, you're automatically signed up for the selective service. When you get a license, you're automatically signed up for the selective service.
I'm fairly sure it's like illegal to not do that.
I think so. When you turn 18, you're supposed to sign up for it. When I turned 18, my mom did it for me. She told me, hey, I registered you for the selective service. So, because you just do it online. Like, it's a very quick thing.
Now
I
had to fill out a piece of paper.
Yeah, no, now you just do it online. It's a very quick thing. I think that it's very interesting, and immediately it started to make me think about the consent that we always talk about, right? Granting consent to be governed. And I wrote that piece a couple of months ago, maybe 2 months ago, that was talking about consent and asking the question of, like, when did I consent to be governed and stuff like that.
And if you want to read that piece, it's available right now on a Patreon.
That is exactly
just got to subscribe to.
It's $5. $5 tier gets you all the newsletters. And it was 2 newsletters ago that I wrote that piece called "When Did I Consent?" And it talked about similar topics as this. And I don't know whether or not I discussed this particular avenue, but when I was thinking about that, the only group that I could think of that maybe had officially consented to be governed were people who had signed up to be in the military. When you do that, you sign up to defend the Constitution. You sign up to give your life to do this type of thing. If that's what's
raise the old right hand and take the oath.
Exactly. Those people have definitely consented to be governed. They have signed their life to the Constitution certainly for this fixed period of time. After that, we can discuss
it gets
whether
gray.
or not. Yeah, exactly.
When does the oath stop?
Yeah, exactly.
Or does it?
So it does, in true government fashion, seems. I hesitate to say coercive because. I'll just go on, then I'll say why. So it seems in true government fashion feels to me to be coercive, that if you want to gain services of the government that we are presuming your consent under, you also need to sign up to fucking die for us if we decide that that's what needs to happen. At the same time, you are consenting to a certain point to deal with the government if you are getting services from them. If you are signing up for some way to get services, but also, like I said, it's just to go to college and stuff like that, you also have to be signed up for the selective service, which doesn't have anything to do with the government for you to continue your education.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I would align it with that same presumed consent. That's like, oh, well, you're from here, so you're born here, so you live here and you pay taxes and you drive on the road, so of course you consent to be governed. That feels like it would be lumped in with the same thing. That's like, oh, well, you just do the same thing. It does seem anti-liberty, especially with, as you were talking about, how difficult it is to object to it in the end. Even notable figures, people who are prominent, fucking Muhammad Ali could have been jailed for not wanting to go.
Yeah. I mean, think Vietnam era, a lot of the draft dodgers and stuff like that, people that didn't want to go out and fight in some war. I mean, you've talked at great length about the validity, if you will, of the Vietnam War. And,
right.
You know, I mean, there's obviously different, I don't know, the weight of the call to go fight in a war is different based off of what war. But, like, you know, if we were to start the draft up for, like, Afghanistan, that would be interesting compared to like the draft for World War II or World War I, and I just thought it was a very interesting concept. I was listening to something, it might have been on Malice, somebody's talking about with a historian or something like that, and it was Matt Kibbe's podcast. I don't even remember.
Kibbe on Liberty.
Kibbe on Liberty, interesting podcast.
Based Kibbe.
It's based Kibbe, bro. Based Kibbe. but yeah, it got me thinking that, and I was like, huh. Because I've never really thought about that. I've always kind of been like, yeah, it's patriotic to fight for your country, and I mean, in the realms of protecting freedom and liberty, even from like my own like anarchist point of view, I still carry that same kind of ethos.
Yeah,
you know, if called upon like that to make sure that I can defend true liberty like that in the home of true liberty, like I would have no problem. I'm not going to wait to be drafted at the end of the day. If it's something I wholeheartedly believe in, then I'll go do that thing.
Right.
But, you know, the concept of calling for more, if, I don't know, like I'm strangely comfortable with it.
Well, and that's
to a point.
It's the same type of a concept that I don't blame anybody who did combat tours in the Middle East, right, in Afghanistan or in Iraq or in any of the numerous countries that we were in this global war on terror, right? Anybody who did active duty tours or combat tours in there, I don't blame you for the actions you took, even if that war wasn't necessarily just, right? Because you believed in the cause that you were fighting for, and in certain times you may not even have known really what you were fighting for. You only know what they told you were fighting for.
Yeah.
And so if you're being told you're fighting for freedom and liberty all the time, and you believe I'm fighting for freedom and liberty, really you're fighting to whatever. We could debate that all day, if it's for oil or to grow the
poppy
industrial complex, for poppy, for drugs, for whatever, right? We debate that all day. But I can still disagree with that concept, the dishonesty that comes from the government to coerce people into fighting their wars, and where I feel like if you were honest and people believe in that, then I don't fault anybody for fighting for something that they believe in.
Yeah.
You know? The same way that I would not fault anybody for not wanting to fight for something they don't believe in.
Yeah.
You know?
Good. I'm glad. That is a satisfactory answer to my question, sir. Thank you.
Good. I think that's interesting what Will says. He says, well, I myself have never been relieved of that oath, just saying. Same with the oath I took as a police officer. Well, I'm not active duty or currently a popo.
Yeah.
Right, and I was thinking that when you get out, you don't like relieve your oath, right? You're just no longer active duty in the military.
Yeah.
So
there's nobody that comes and relieves your oath.
Right. You don't like sign a piece of paper that says I no longer whatever for the government. Like,
yeah. What just happened here? Are we still live? Are we still live? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
we're still
that was
live.
weird.
That was weird. That went away. Interesting. So that's just to piggyback off of that.
yes.
Mr. Will. I think this is interesting. An interesting concept. It was from an old
Joseph.
John Wayne movie. Joseph Garrett's in the house. Late, but not too late. There, big shooter.
No.
There's an old John Wayne movie called The Searchers. Fantastic movie if you guys have never seen it. But he's got a line in it where he says, I figure a man's only good for one oath at a time. And I took mine already. I'm interested in somebody that really holds like the sanctity of an oath sacred like that. I'm like, can you have more than one oath? Can you take multiple oaths as long as they don't conflict with each other? Because then I also feel like some of those people might have a problem doing like an oath to marriage if you if you're only good for one oath,
right? Okay,
what's the other one there?
So I
You
was
know what I
just
mean?
thinking that, right? And this doesn't matter. I was watching American Sniper, right?
Ooh.
And there's a scene where he's sitting in bed with his wife, and she's, he's getting ready to go on another tour, and she's like, you don't fucking, all the arguments. You don't need to do this. Like, you don't have to go. Someone else can go. And he's like, no, like I do have to go. Like I have to defend my country. I have to do my part. And if I don't go, somebody else is going to go. She's like, that's bullshit. I don't believe you. Like, I don't believe that you actually think this. And
There was Bradley Cooper.
yeah. And
I don't think I ever saw that movie.
He's making the case like, what I'm doing is heroic. Like, I believe in this, and this is what I have to do. This is my mission. And from everything that I've watched, you know all the different weird military content that I've watched, all the different dudes that I watch, all that type of stuff, all those special forces guys, they've all said that exact same thing. They're like, this, I signed up to do this, and I believe in the same deal, freedom and liberty, and killing the bad guys. I believe in keeping people safe, whether it is here or around the globe. Those people are doing bad things to hurt people, and I have to stop that because that's what I'm supposed to do. And that's
a Batman complex a little bit.
And I don't
fault anybody for it necessarily.
No.
Because you could have taken a reasonably objective stance towards good and evil and fight against evil.
But when you take an oath like that seriously, said, how committed can you be to other shit? And that doesn't make it okay for you to do any things. A lot of people, people in the military cheat and stuff like that. Like that doesn't make that okay just because you're like, I'm just so committed to this one thing that how could I possibly fucking be committed to anything else? Like, that's not a good argument, But it's a very... I think the concept holds up enough that's like, for me in my mind, that if you're that devoted to that, how devoted could you be to something else? Because you're literally willing to give your life for that. And I don't care. I don't care. I was like, I'm not questioning anybody's fucking fidelity or how much they love their families. I don't care. If a special forces guy saw this and was that sensitive, then fuck you. I don't care. I just gotta stop qualifying stuff like that. I just always think about like, oh, what is someone gonna fucking think of? What if they? But I'm willing to defend these. I don't know. I gotta stop. So
it's a conceptual idea.
Yes,
you can talk about it like that. I believe the military and Popo oath do coincide with each other. Yeah, that's what I feel like. That's all. You're like you're adding layers to the same idea.
And this is what I was gonna say. It's really good that you said that, because I think that it's very easy, not even reach to make, or just very easy step to say that the wife and family that dude has is a direct extension of, I got to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
You're also married to this person, so your life is tied to them. You have children with them. You love them inherently, even if in your soul, admittedly or unadmittedly, subconsciously, you can't be as devoted to them as you are to this initial oath that you took, because you're signing up to potentially give your life for it. Mm-hmm. It's a direct extension of that for these people to be. I am also going to keep them safe, and I have immediate connection to them.
Well, and also you could take the perspective that by being put in a position where you would have to forfeit your life in pursuit of keeping them safe too, it's also kind of in step with that same devotional oath. Is even if you're not around and you're doing this or that and the other thing, you're still out there trying to protect them as well as others as a whole. So I feel like it could definitely be coincident 100%.
Yeah.
Interesting. How do we get on O's? I forgot.
Because you asked about selective service.
That's right.
Yeah, you did this.
Yeah, I did this.
Yeah, you did this.
I did this.
No. So we'll go to local stories. So we'll start with an easy one, a very quick one. It's just silly Seattle stuff about the leaf blowers, right? So
I love this so much.
The Seattle City Council, this is a super short article that I have from Cairo. I don't even need to send it to you. I'll just read it. The Seattle City Council has passed a resolution that would phase out the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in Seattle within the next 5 years. The law would require the city government to transition from gas-powered to electric-powered leaf blowers by January 2025, and Seattle businesses and residents would need to make the transition by January 2027. Nearly everyone hates obnoxious, loud, gas-belching leaf blowers, so why do we allow them to continue damaging eardrums, spray debris into faces, and polluting our city, said Councilmember Alex Peterson, who sponsored the legislation. Our cities are banning or phasing out leaf blowers, and it's time to blow them out of Seattle, too. The resolution,
You bougie motherfucker. Shut up.
The resolution will also explore whether the city should offer incentives such as buyback programs or rebates on replacement purchases to landscaping businesses and low-income residents in Seattle. The council first began considering strategies to reduce or eliminate the noise and emissions created by the use of gas-powered leaf blowers in 2014.
2014.
Look at how efficient government is, that only 8 years it took them to decide to ban gas-powered leaf blowers. Look at how efficient. Shouldn't we ask them to do more?
This is wholeheartedly, like, even for Seattle, this is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard my entire life.
Other U.S. cities, including Washington, D.C., Burlington, Vermont, as well as California, have already taken steps toward implementing their own leaf blower bans.
So that's really what this is about, is all the cool kids are already doing it, so we got to do it too. But hey, that's fine, because you're not going to have anybody left in your city to run those gas-powered leaf blowers anyways. And, you know, you fucking soy boy sipping latte, sitting in a fucking office somewhere, working from home, motherfucker, aren't going to be able to carry one anyway. So you're going to have your little Ryobi from Home Depot with the rechargeable battery on there. Don't ask where all those minerals come from that keep that battery powered, by the way, but you'll feel much better about it, and you won't piss off the rest of your soy sipping latte fucking neighbors.
At what point...
I fucking hate these people,
let's
man.
Take a step back at the government, right?
Yes.
At what point in the Democratic Republic did the state governments, did their job start to be regulating what type of tools you use to fucking clean your house? At what point did that become a service of government?
Yeah, can we have like a Second Amendment Part A?
Get the fuck out of my
where
house.
You can't
get the fuck out of my house.
Because we talk about guns as tools, right? So like it's just an extension of 2A. I also need to be able to bear hammers, all right? Give me a fucking leaf blower.
If you want to convert all of the people in the city, all the the people who work for the city, like that do city projects, that they're going to use electric leaf blowers, and you want to say we're going to only contract people who are going to use green leaf blowers, right, or green outdoor tools, right? That's fine. At no point, and I'm not like this is outrageous, right? I'm not. It's nothing like that. But at no point should we be telling people what type of tools they have to use can and can't use to fucking move the leaves in their yard. Yeah. What are we doing?
And the only way to do that will be to actively discriminate against oppressed minorities. Because
that's why you have the buyback programs. We're going to make sure we start up a buyback program with rebates on replacement purchases for landscaping businesses and low-income residents in Seattle. So woke it up at the same time. Double woke.
Double woke. So
it's like when you get an egg with 2 yolks in it. It's a double woke.
Ooh, it's a
it's a double woke.
It's a double woke. Double woke actions. Oh yeah, of course. Trademark Seattle. I strangely do not have an issue with the city of Seattle offering rebates to exchange something like that.
Want to incentivize it,
like that's fine. Like if you want to have incentive programs like that, where if this is what you as a city want to do, I get it. And I'm down enough with localism and local governance I'm down with that. If our county wanted to do that, I'm petitioning the hell out of saying no, fuck you. You're not spending public funds on this. But if the
leaf blower tax credit,
and no, I don't. This whole tax credits, man. Tax credits are not. Tax credit is the government's way of spending money and saying that they don't. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, but then we'll give you a tax credit. Fuck you. No, I want
fuck you.
I want a Walmart style returns line where I could bring my receipt in and then get fucking cash money. Actually, I don't even want cash money because it's worthless at the end of the day. I want something of equal value.
Of gold.
Exactly. From when I bought this thing 10 years ago, and the IRS has got my fucking accounts. You could tell me exactly how much I paid for this. I want market value for the time I purchased this, and equal return in value for something that you're making me do.
With inflation.
With inflation.
Yeah.
Bro. This this
In
$800 in gold. That would be the way to do it right there. Give me some fucking gold. Some money changer out there sprinkling some nuggets. It's got the scales up there weighing it out. But whatever. Seattle's a fucking trash city, man.
That's awesome. These people are crazy.
Speaking of woke trashism, I got something for you real quick.
Yeah.
This was a really fun story I saw. Nope, not that one. That one's really depressing. Wokeism biting you in the ass, right? Let me pull this up on the thing.
A homelessness megaplex. Are they talking about fucking Pendleton Place?
They're talking about
fucking assholes.
No, this is a new one.
Bullshit city governments.
So this is in Seattle, right outside of what they call now the Chinatown International District, because they can't call it Chinatown because that's too discriminatory. But
we can call it the Chinatown International District.
Exactly, it's the CID now. As long as you make it an acronym, it's fine. But the people of the CID are pushing back against the city because they are trying to expand a what they call a homeless mega complex or a mega shelter in their district, and they do not want it.
How many people are going to live there?
Let's see here. Let's just do a little reading.
Let's read it.
Last week, concerned community members organized a rally in oh, you're going to love the language, by the way, in Chinatown International District, Hing Park, that drew mutual aid activists, NIMBYs, and Republicans to protest the temporary expansion. I love this. The temporary expansion of an existing homeless shelter, the Soto Service Hub. So that's there's already an existing homeless shelter there. They just want to expand it.
Okay.
Which some fear may bring more unhoused people and crime to the neighborhood. You don't say.
And how is unhoused better than homeless?
It sounds nicer, you know. It's been means tested. It's been what do they call that? It's been means tested. It lands
Sounds
better
friendlier.
with the voting
Sounds
blocks
better.
that we want.
Jesus.
Right-wing keyboard warriors branded the shelter a homelessness megaplex. This is from thestranger.com, by the way, so I love it. And claimed the city, county, and King County Regional Homelessness Authority, the KCRHA, planned the expansion without adequate outreach to the nearby Chinatown International District, which some saw as racist, as Seattle's homelessness crisis officially turns 7 years old this November.
Christ.
Wow. That's just when they officially called it a crisis.
And if you guys aren't from here, it's fucking bad.
It's super bad, man.
Bad.
Super bad.
It's uncomfortable. If you're not from Seattle, if you're not used to it, it's uncomfortable.
Oh, dude, even if you are from Seattle, it's fucking uncomfortable. But let's see. County officials dispute the protesters' claim and argue that the shelter expansion will actually alleviate visible homelessness in the area. Classic King County leaving out Chinatown. I love it because it's just such a, like, they're calling out like right wingers and NIMBYs and all this, but then also fucking on King County for being a bunch of racists. In March, the county announced a $66.5 million plan to expand the 270-unit shelter that opened last summer. 270-unit shelter last summer.
And expand it.
That's
Holy
right.
Fuck.
The plan pays to preserve the existing units and adds 150 units of the shelter in the area, including 40 high-capacity shelter beds and 40 to 50 tiny shelters. The county paid for the expansion with one-time federal funding, covering the cost for a 5-year lease that the county does not anticipate renewing.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's talk about this, right? Okay, so holy shit. Let me tell you why.
I thought you would like this.
Let me tell you why it's so terrible. Let's start here.
Walmart is subsidized. You'll stay up late. Yes.
Okay, so let's start here. Obviously, we don't have any problem with anybody being homeless. It's none of my fucking business. I don't care if you want to be homeless, if you want to live in the woods, if you don't want to live in the woods, if you don't want to be homeless. None of it is any of my business. I don't care if you want to use drugs, if you want to do whatever. None of my business. I don't care. When you start to fuck with other people's things and you interfere with other people's businesses and you interfere with people's homes, this is when it starts to become an issue, right?
Yeah, like if the state, if you will, in whatever iteration, local, city, county, decides to plop a homeless shelter in a residential neighborhood,
yes,
that seems to be an issue.
So the idea of this is a great idea because obviously you don't want people to be homeless. And Seattle, we have gone over the issue before about like the zoning, single family housing, and all this type of stuff. It's really weird the way they choose to do things in Seattle. So the idea of it is not bad at all. To get people off the streets, a place where they can be clean and have a place to go at night so they can have a job, save some money, and then get a house. That's a great idea, right? The issue with places like this, and I can use an example specifically of one that we have in a town near us called Bremerton, right? I looked at a house on a street that was, I did not know until we went there.
That's why I mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect. Directly next to a facility called Pendleton Place. And this facility in Bremerton,
Will Wallace knows what you're talking about.
Will Wallace knows what I'm talking about. There was a track hoe demolishing a homeless encampment the other day not far from me on Warren. Happens all the time. There was a homeless man on top of a building in our same complex 2 days ago when I got to work, and I had to stand there and speak with the police and stand there with Benito, a nice man that works in front of the building. It was horrific. There's at the parks next to our building. There's, homeless people just all up in the foliage and everything. It's horrific. Yeah. It's horrific, the state of the towns around us. So Pendleton Place, right? It is run partially by the mental health authority of Kitsap County, Kitsap Mental Health. That's what it's called, right? It's a facility underneath them. So it is for 74, 75, something like that, chronically homeless individuals, for them to live there who also happen to be severely drug addicted or also mentally ill, but not so mentally ill that you would need to be locked up. They live there, right? Because that is the type of facility that it is, right? Because it's for people who are addicted, you're allowed to use drugs there. It's okay for you to use drugs there, which, again, I don't inherently have an issue with people using drugs. So long as you're productive, but also if you're unproductive, it does not any of my issue as long as you're not interfering with my life. That's kind of a separate deal. But along with the drug use comes with all these other beautiful things like prostitution and drug dealing and ODing and things like that. And the core issue at all of that is that it's happening on the government dime. It's all happening with your tax dollars. This facility was built with your tax dollars. The people being housed there with your tax dollars. They're being paid for, resuscitated with your tax dollars. They're allowed to sell themselves in a government facility with your tax dollars. They're allowed to OD and use drugs in a government facility with your tax dollars. And they're allowed to ruin neighborhoods right next to it so you can't move your family in with your tax dollars. There's a beautiful house that was beautiful, amazing for me and my family to live in. More than enough bedrooms, more than enough space. It was a fantastic price. Huge basement for us to be able to build a studio in there so that Colin could come and see us and I didn't have to spend 10 hours away from my family every other week. There's a fucking homeless facility literally directly across the street. If you stand in the driveway and you duck down, you can see the back of Pendleton Place. The beautiful thing behind that is the government is so fucking inept that that's where they put it, is right in the middle of a neighborhood, right off of the highway, miles away from all the other government facilities, miles away from all the other government service facilities. And on top of it, the government is run so fucking poorly that it's understaffed. They're pulling people from other facilities to work there, and they have one security guard that's fucking walking around like every 4 hours.
And to even add insult to injury from the government standpoint at that point, they are pulling money out of their own pockets because while they are dumping more taxpayer money into this situation, they are drastically reducing any property values within that vicinity, cutting back on their tax revenue. But hey, if it saves one life, Donovan.
Isn't it wonderful? So,
well, that's fucked.
This is why I am in favor of this type of shit being handled in the private sector. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because if business does this, at least you're not fucking doing it with my tax dollars. I didn't have anything to do with this unless I donated to your business, right? Unless I donated to this thing that you are doing. And if you're going to build it there, I have an issue with this business, not with the fucking government that is forcibly taking money out of my fucking pocket. Mm-hmm. But instead, you're ruining the neighborhoods. You're ruining the area that people are trying to live in. It's all done with the fucking money that you're stealing from me on a weekly basis. And it's enough to break a person sometimes.
Your soul is feeling rather dejected right now. Well, let's do this real quick.
So I don't blame these people for being upset that they want to expand this in their neighborhood, especially with how fucking horrific the homeless problem is in Seattle.
Especially.
Those are real homeless people. Those are real homeless people. Those aren't just people who just are down on their luck. Yeah. Those are fucking real homeless people in Seattle.
So let's do this real quick because
You guys know what I mean.
you had brought up the point that maybe this is better handled by the private sector.
Yes.
The instant response to that is generally like, well, yeah, so that way, you equate so like some evil business tycoon, some evil capitalist can come in there like running a private prison and take advantage of all these disenfranchised people that have all these mental issues and they have drug addiction problems, and they're just going to take advantage of them for profit. What are some ways maybe the private sector could get involved with in the industry of, I guess, addiction and homelessness and things like that? In your mind, how could the private sector actually handle something like that?
Right. So a really easy way is to work with businesses in the area, because obviously you get people off the street. The first thing the businesses are going to do better. If there are less people on the streets, the businesses are going to do better because there's going to be more foot traffic. That's obvious, right? After that, there are...
Like on a donation type basis, right? Go around and talk to them, talk to the business owners, be like, hey, we want to do this thing. Could you offer some
donations
funding?
from regular people. So the first step obviously is fundraising, right? Fundraising. But I mean, after you get people off the street, the businesses will be happy about that because they're going to do better.
Yep.
After that, the door is open. Then they will likely be more willing to work with you on whatever program you want to do with. Even prior to that, most businesses are happy to hire people who are ex-cons or have some type of shady past, so long as they are on a corrective path to the future, because they will get some type of government incentive from that. They will get some type of tax credit, some type of something from that is beneficial, right? Or at the very least, a lot of those people are willing to work for lower wages or work apprenticeships because they're trying to get experience so they can get a better job, right? So
the state is fond of relocating people.
The state is fond of relocating people, yes.
Yeah.
So that is a good first step to break into that, is to turn them into a workforce. I mean, that's what you do to be productive. You find a job, you make money so that you can have a place to live. So
and that's what actually helps that's what changes people's lives, is really giving them ownership of their own destiny like that, is by allowing them, especially somebody that say is like a felon or something like that, that is going to have a hard time seeking employment in the free market. By having something like that, they'll be willing to take a lower wage like that to get job experience alone. Enough years of job experience after you become a felon kind of speaks for itself at that point. You can't go work for the feds again maybe, but if you got 5 years of good job history on a resume after you got, out of whatever situation you were in, as a former business owner, I mean, like, I would have no problem with that. I've hired felons before because they are not they're not that person anymore. They've done their time, they did better, and they went on to live very successful lives after that.
And you start small, right? So if you start with a very small group of people and you fundraise the correct way, however, I obviously don't know what the numbers would be, but you can even work with the businesses to subsidize the salaries of those people. So the businesses are only paying half of the salary and you are paying the other half for an X period of time until they reach whatever the 90-day threshold of whatever. What do they call that? A probation period, right? We'll give them a 90-day probation period where you pay half their salary, we'll pay half their salary, and if you like them at the end of that, you hire them on full time, and we'll call it good. And then we'll continue to house them this whole, until they have enough to get an apartment. We'll help them get an apartment. We'll get them squared away. That seems very, very simple.
It does.
And the positive, one of the very positive aspects of the private sector spearheading this is the private sector has an incentive, because they have investors, they have fundraisers, they have people who've given them money. They have incentive to actually to get the job done, right?
Yeah.
With the government, every year there's going to be money. As long as you have spent those dollars, you're going to get the same amount of money, if not more, when the next budget is drawn up. If you have to fundraise every single time that you need more money, if you are reliant on people giving you money and not a government dole, you have to produce. You have to show that what you are doing works, or else people stop giving you money. People will not give you any more funds for you to work with, and your business will fold.
Yeah. And the
government has no such incentives. Sorry, I mean to cut you off, but the government has no such incentive to actually show that it can be productive.
Yeah. And now there's a couple challenges that I see in this because I've thought about this at some length at some point, but because the private sector does have certain institutions, if you will, that attempt to do this, right? But they generally work in a charity type business model, right? A non-profit organization where most of the time corruption runs rampant and then very little is ever actually achieved, right? And so the real challenge there is how to go about this in not a non-profit fashion and do it in some form of a for-profit business, because that truly gives that market incentive to continue to thrive and to continue to do better. And I've always envisioned something along the lines of like a some kind of, we'll just say manufacturing is. I mean, manufacturing is
in-house.
Yeah, make some kind of product in-house to be able to offset that while you're also having, so you get the work experience at the facility, you get, and then you're at the same time you're doing that. Maybe that's like the first step. You do that, and then you start branching out to work on the outside to these other businesses, and then the whole thing just kind of builds off of itself, and so that there is some kind of financial incentive for investment to come in.
And there are other. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, because that would allow you. It would allow you to start at a bigger base, because to build a for-profit company like that, it's going to be a real hard, if not impossible, thing to do out of like a fucking garage or a warehouse at some point, to start from scratch with like, we found a couple homeless people, now we're going to build shirts, but like a fucking a custom shirt press business, I feel like, is probably a good thing to do. Some screen printing type shit, and you get out there and you get in contact with like the local schools and sports teams and kind of that kind of shit. And you get in, and then the school
community shit.
You get involved on a community level like that, and then you get some kind of realistic thing going on that just builds and builds and builds. And next thing you know, you have a positive draw to solve a local problem like that. So there you go. Homelessness is problems, but there are solutions that are not the government going in to people's fucking communities and just plopping a new facility there. There are ways to do it if people get fucking creative. So that's a local story. Check.
No, I like it. That was good. That was a good one. The only other one that I have has to do with Jay Inslee, right? And I have it from a particular angle. So Jay Inslee, our governor, was one of 3 governors that took on the emergency powers with no defined end date. And that's because we are one of 3 states in which the governor defines when emergency orders begin and end. So
riddle me that one.
So Jay Inslee announced, this from September 8th, so 2 weeks ago, that he was going to finally end his emergency powers at the end of October. And the story that I have here and that I sent you is from Dory Monson, actually. And Dory Monson is a prominent local conservative radio talk show host. And he... Let's see, this was said in my August 25th on-air prognostication, I forecasted that Inslee would let the powers go right about the time ballots go out, and he's going to try and play it for some kind of electoral advantage on his part. Inslee's logic, as I'm imagining the governor thinking to himself, is, look at what I and my Democrat Party have done, and now finally things are so great that I'm relinquishing my emergency powers, and then he's hoping voters will think the Democrats don't really stink that bad. So I did not consider the timing of it, which seems very foolish to me now, right? I just was like, thank God it's finally happening,
Celebrate.
Because it could happen at any time again. But
it'll be the climate crisis next.
We've questioned many times, why is this still happening? And the last time that I've referenced this many times, last time I remember him being pressed on it. His answer was, "Well, most of my emergency orders have been rolled back anyway, so I don't really know what the big deal is. I don't see what the issue is. Like, it doesn't seem like it's really that tyrannical that I have emergency powers.
But I'm a good king.
Yeah,
That's why.
But the timing does seem very interesting, right? That we
Yeah.
are closing in on the midterms, and now because literally August 31st, I think, is when he's going to give up his emergency powers, the last day of August, which is 8 days before the election.
Sus.
So
Wait. Run those dates by me again.
October 31st is
Okay.
when he ends it. The voting day is November 8th. So it's 8 days before 9 days, however
Okay.
you want to count it. 8, 9, I don't know.
Yeah.
People always do it weird, right? If you're going to count the
weekish.
nights or the days or the whatever, I don't know.
No.
So,
Deborah's here.
Deborah's here. Thank you for joining us.
So this, I think I want to just talk about this for very briefly.
Yes.
Because this is a local story that is directly part of the midterm situation. Because this is a local and very important midterm election. And that is particularly the election that's going on for our state senator. Patty Murray is the sitting state senator of Washington State, and she is about as an establishment Democrat as can be. I think she is about number 3 in the hierarchy of power in the Democratic Party, right behind every picture now of her. I mean, Chuck Schumer, she's in the background now. She's always there.
I saw a YouTube ad for her yesterday when I was doing my research. She's fucking.
Is she talking about
around.
abortion? I haven't seen any.
No. The hits were that what she healthcare costs, and she did shit for the climate. And something else that after that I was like, no one fucking cares about that. I've turned to Jordan. I said, no one fucking cares about that.
Yeah.
And then it was pictures and videos of her walking down the street, with like a old large man with a beard, like he looked like who was a tradesman in his day, you know, shaking his hand.
The old union worker
looks at the camera on accident. Oh, and then blah blah blah. And then she's standing with a bunch of people who are in hard hats and stuff. They all happen to be women. So you know how many manufacturing facilities like industrial manufacturing facilities are only women, right? So it happens all the time.
Yeah, all of them, obviously.
Yeah, very, very dirty, and they're like laughing and having a good time. And like, oh, we're so happy you're our senator.
Oh my God. It's so terrible. I'm going to have to look that up because I was very curious. I was like, because she's going to have to run. Right. Yeah. She has to run because she has a serious contender now from the Republican Party. A gal named Tiffany Smiley. We've talked about her before on the show.
Husband got blown up into whoa.
Yeah, he got blown up, and he is the only legally blind serving Army officer or something like that now.
No shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was part of that deal, and
legally blind. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is. Yeah,
he's totally blind or legally blind.
I mean, when you see he's blind.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. It's not like he's going to go try to pass the DMV test. You know what I mean?
I just mean some people.
Some people are legally still they got
still see shit.
And I'm pretty sure he cannot.
Yeah. It doesn't
we'll
really
put it that way.
I'm just.
But yes, the reason this is important is because with the midterms coming, and what we'll get into in part 2 is I think the seriousness of it, because this is not, we've heard a lot of talk about red wave and so on and so forth, and that's not, I don't think, truly the case. We might end up seeing one, but there are very important elections happening in essentially a month. And it is very important that people get out there and vote, because somebody like Tiffany Smiley she's within striking distance of Senator Murray. And when you think about that, in Washington State, the polling numbers right now put her within 6 points of Patty Murray, depending on which poll you look at. This is a Trafalgar Group, pretty big pollster like that.
Okay.
They've got her sitting at 46.3%, Patty Murray at 49%.
Whoa.
Undecideds are the toss-up. I mean, this is potentially a toss-up race.
Whoa.
And when you put that on balance with that fucking piece of shit governor that we have finally given up his dictatorial powers, a portion of them, because he's still the governor and has as much power as he wants, but because all he's got to do is declare an emergency. This is real. This could happen if people get out there and they fucking vote. We got a Tiffany Smiley fucking yard sign out in our woke ass neighborhood. This is a good deal, man. This could happen, and it is very, very important. But there's also been a lot of talk about.
Ooh, they're going to debate.
They are going to debate. There's been a lot of candidates right now, which we'll get in. We'll touch on a lot of them in the next part that are refusing to debate each other.
I'll tell you who's prettier.
Hey, word. Tiffany Smiley is not hard to look at.
We're misogynistic. I am the worst. Jordan's going to listen to this and be like, come on.
You're a piece of
Jesus
shit.
Christ. It's like, that's what matters, huh? Who's prettier?
Wait until we talk about that, the hopefully future congresswoman from New Hampshire, 25-year-old gal that just won the primary.
Saw a picture of that gal, I think.
Yep.
I'm down to see a closer up one.
So it got me thinking. They have agreed to 2 debates. Right,
That's
and happening on. Don't be saying that.
It is hot. I'm here for it.
So we have the first one taking place Sunday, October 23rd, and the other one on Tuesday, October 25th.
2 days apart?
Yes, 2 days apart. First question in my mind, right? The vote is technically in November, right?
Yes.
But we are
Pigs, she says.
Pigs. But we are a mail-in ballot state. When do the ballots go out? When can you start to vote? Well, you can start voting October 21st. Is the start of the 18-day voting period. So people will be casting ballots before the debates. This is a problem for me. This is a huge problem for me. We're pushing the debates till the very, very last minute in a state where you can vote before the fucking debates, man. You can vote before the debates. This seems incredibly anti-democratic for a very democratic state. The democracy is so sacred, governor. This is a problem. And that's happening right here in our state. And I know for a fact it's going to be happening in other states.
And people vote early here.
Word. You get that thing in the mail. You just check, mail it in. How many people are going to be tuning into these fucking debates? Probably not a lot. This is potentially one of the biggest Senate races in the country. This is real to take out somebody like because they see Washington State as like a safe state, but from Trafalgar Group, who is not a Republican-friendly polling group. Not to mention, you factor on, we'll talk about it later in part 2 too, that Nate Cohn of New York Times kind of saying like a lot of these pollsters haven't adjusted their models and the numbers are probably still off, leaning Democrat. This race could be way closer than we think. It's already fucking close.
Do you know
we could unseat the number 3 Democrat in the Senate and nobody's talking about it.
Another reason they're talking about it, she's not like a MAGA Republican.
She's not like
she's
super
just,
MAGA. She knows where she's at. She's in Washington. That's not going to win you a seat.
And I've heard her clips of her being asked about, like, do you think that the election was legitimate? And she's like, Joe Biden, I do believe Joe Biden is the president. They're trying to pin her into a real, like, I want you to say exactly these words. And it's a weird game that
it's fucked up.
Journalists play with candidates. That's like, you didn't answer my question correctly if you don't restate my question back to me as the answer. Even if what I'm saying to you is the answer, like Joe Biden is the president. I'm not going to open up a conversation with you about the questions I have about the election integrity because that's fucking foolish on the radio. But
and especially in your state where it's been historically a mail-in ballot state for a long time, but it is. I don't think she got any of the Democratic funding for her campaign like a lot of the other mega candidates did, like Mr. Joe Kent and shit, which try to find a poll on that motherfucker. Can't find it.
Joe Kent?
Yeah. I'm curious about that one.
He's looking good, though, right? For his...
I think so, yeah. I mean, he won the primary, so, kicked out an establishment gal, so we'll see. But, yeah, this is one I just wanted to touch on it as kind of to lead us into part 2 before we take the break, because midterms are coming, man, and you know me. I'm about as... I'm a pretty staunch anarchist, but I recognize the system that we currently live in, and this shit is very, very, very important. If you have any hopes, if we have any hopes in saving what is left of the republic and reclaiming any territory that we have, this is the only way to do it right now. So you got to get out there and vote. You got to talk to your fucking friends and get out and make sure they're doing the same shit. Even if they think it's all fucking corrupt and they're going to steal your election. Well, guess what, man? All these people have been winning primaries already.
Yeah.
Even if they're going to fight tooth and nail every goddamn election. Every side is trying to fuck the other side over whatever way they can. The only way to do that is to be fucking undeniable. So get out there, be undeniable. With that, I think we'll wrap up part 1.
Fuck yeah.
Be undeniable, people. We'll be back in a few minutes with part 2.
Thank you.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you ready to eat everything.